I've never painted a koala before, but aren't they just gorgeous? So I found a brilliant reference on Pixabay, and I'll put a link in the description. Because it's new to me, well, really every subject, I do a quick thumbnail to think about shapes and tones, and then I plan out my colours, because having a few colours and integrating them in the picture makes it all hold together. Obviously, there's grey, but I thought it'd be fun to pull out some purples. So I had a go at dioxazine purple, and then I found a manganese violet, which I much preferred. It was just a bit pinker and softer. So I decided that's the purple I would go with. I also found purple madder lurking at the bottom of my paint box, which is just glorious. So decided that that needed an outing. And then the other colour that I selected was Potter's Pink, which is the strangest colour that you can find. Got loads of white in, it's really opaque, but that will come in handy later on. So I'd say always swatch your colours out so that you know whether they're going to play nicely together. I did add in a little bit of burnt umber for those eyes as well. So here I am. I've sketched out the paper. It's on a piece of Bockingford. It's a knot surface or a cold press surface. And I'm using the biggest brush I can find. It's about a size 18, I think. I want lots of soft edges. This is a furry creature, so I am wetting with clean water the edges and letting that flow. I'm also going to use a little spritz bottle. So the colour is going on all over the place, as you can see, though I am being careful to leave places white that are catching the light, so the top of the head and that cheek. I wish in hindsight that I had softened those edges more, but I'll show you later on how we can rectify things if it goes a bit wrong. In watercolour, you are always painting the shadows. You're not painting the object, you're painting the tones. So we can use multiple colours, and as long as we get the tones in the right place, it'll work. We are aiming to join shapes, and at this point it doesn't matter if it looks wild and out of control, because our line work will come back in and regain some of that control for us. Oh, this is that purple madder. Look at it zoom through the water. It's just glorious. It was so lively on the surface, pushing everything out of the way. It's a Winsor & Newton colour. Really like it. Mustn't go to the bottom of my paint box again. So I'm letting all the colours mix on the surface. There is a lot of water on here, and it's going to take forever to dry. I don't mind that it's all pretty bright at the moment, because I know watercolour is going to dry about 15% lighter. Here I'm putting some spatter. Don't do it just in one place, because our eyes will get caught on it. Always try and do it in, say, 3 places. Triangles really work. And now I'm going to a smaller brush, because much as everything else is wild, these eyes need to be a bit more defined. So I'm using some burnt umber. It's certainly not dark enough. I might have to come back in later on, but you can. It doesn't matter. You can totally come back in with more colour later, or you can do the ink and then you can do more ink. As long as the paper is dry in between the different layers, you're fine. Just finish off by getting that really dark shadow across the top of the nose. Well, that took ages to dry, and as predicted, obviously the colours have really faded back, but I've got some lovely salt textures here, particularly a few little bits up there, some nice watermarks, so I'm happy with how it's looking. Okay, with this all dry, and you really do need to make sure it's fully dry, I'm going to grab some of these fine liner pens to get the line work in. Fineliners are, it's permanent ink, it's fade proof, and it's waterproof. They're so convenient. They come in a range from something like 0.1, maybe even 0.05, even smaller, right up to about a 1mm. Given the size of this picture, I think that sort of a mid-range, about a 0.4, 0.5 is going to be good. If I was doing a smaller piece, I'd use a smaller pen. bigger piece, well, probably wouldn't use these pens at all. But let's start with those, and if I need to go up a size or down a size, we always can. I'm going to start with these eyes. And when you've got interesting marks and so forth like this, you've got to try and retain what you like, disguise what you don't like, emphasize what needs to be emphasized. So I'm going to hopefully keep it fairly simple and get these lovely beady eyes in. I don't want to just outline the marks. I don't want to totally ignore them. We're just aiming to complement. So I'm doing a very jagged line because I want to get a feeling of some of that fur. I also know that I can always go back in and add more colour if I need to, and I may well need to on these eyes because, say, everything has faded back. But it's better both with ink and with the watercolour to kind of do too little rather than too much. So much easier to add more than it is to take away. I'm just defining the top of that nose, defining that eye, and doing a sort of continuous jagged line because I think that seems about the right sort of mark for this sort of short, dense fur that the koala's got. Let's come over to the other eye. Now the other eye is sort of in profile and they really stand out. They're very sort of button-eyed. So let's get that in. And even that, just it's amazing how a few lines can just sort of define things. Quite hard on this reference to see the not the pupils. What are these called? Nostrils. But I've checked on another photo just to check how they go, and they seem to sort of come out to the side. And we've got this lovely sort of chin round here with some longer lines and so forth. I don't need to define everything because absolutely I don't. I need to leave space for some of that imagination for the viewer to be able to work out what's going on. So we'll come up to these wonderful ears, a lot longer fur, so again I'll do longer marks but using that sort of continuous line because I think that's quite fun. So I really hope that we see these in the wild. I'm not sure how friendly they are, but well, you shouldn't be touching wild animals anyway. As I'm sure we've all got nasty diseases that we'll get from us, and possibly vice versa, but I'd be more worried about us hurting them than them hurting us. Now, the hairs are incredibly long on this ear, but I'm not sure I'm going to even try to. I might, because I have done longer hairs there, I might have to do some just for sort of balance, but I'm not going to sort of aim to sort of get every single hair in because, well, I just can't do that, and I don't think it would suit what I'm doing here anyway. It's quite nice again to hold your pen maybe a little further up the barrel so that you get a good loose mark, but you can obviously, where you need it to be a little more defined, which is around those eyes, you can always regain control, bring your hand down. Now there are whiskers here, so let's just pop those in. And presumably there are some this side which I cannot see, but I think it would be kind of weird not to have them. Just have to do that a bit more. This is just the top of its arm coming through. It's got lots of double chins and nothing wrong with that. Plenty of them myself. And then there's sort of the way the fur goes, sort of indicates round the back of the arm there to show. I think that's quite nice. And then sort of over the shoulder. We really have to be conscious of how much we do. It's so tempting to do lots and lots and lots because we're enjoying it and it's going well and we're happy, and if this is working then surely more will be even better. So it's worth asking yourself, how much do you need to do to achieve what you want to achieve? So I want this to look furry, I want it to look like a koala, that always helps. But how much do we need? I think this nostril is bigger. It's really hard to see from this photo, but I'm going to do that. The thing is, when you've achieved it, stop. If you look at it tomorrow and think, oh, I wish I'd done a bit more, you can do more. You can always go and put stuff in, but what you can't do is take away. So far better to stop too soon and then look at it tomorrow and think, oh yeah, I should have done more, rather than sort of cursing that you did the wrong mark at the end. I'm not sure whether I actually need that much more. I'm not sure I like the shape, because he's got a nice chubby cheek, and because of that hard line it's not looking chubby. So what I'm going to do is rub out the pencil lines, definitely soften that cheek to fluff it up. He's looking a bit gaunt. And I think I would like to soften that top edge because that's quite furry. I would like to deepen these eyes. They're just a little bit pale. And just get a bit more detail going on there. I've got a little flat brush, which I'm going to just dampen. I'm going to tickle this edge. And I'm not sure how easily this will lift, but actually that's doing all right. Some colours will lift, some won't. I don't mind there being a bit of a stain there, and I might soften a little bit further there, flat across the top of his head, its head, but not quite as sharp as I'd done it there. A bit of a softer edge would be nice. Right, let's just grab our paints and a smaller brush, and let's get some shaping onto these eyes. I just felt they were a little bit simple, so I'm just darkening it with a bit more brown, and I'm going to use a tiny touch of the grey just to deepen that, and just grey down a little of that highlight on that eye, because it's not that bright, and I'll do the same over here. So again, just deepening that brown down. Round that eye. And then a tiny bit of the grey just round to give a little bit of shaping to it. I'm going to grab a tiny bit of the pink and just shape that chin a bit more. And the reason I chose the pink is that Potter's pink is very opaque. It's a funny old colour. It's got a lot of white in, but it will sit on top. This white spot is too white. So let's echo some of those marks and then just fade that off. So say, just avoid the temptation to fiddle. But of course, if there are things that can be improved, that you can build on, then by all means do it. You can go back in and add a tiny bit of extra ink if you spot a place that you feel you haven't got enough ink, or a shape that needs sorting. So what I'd got this sort of bulgy bit across the top of the eye, but I hadn't particularly on that side, so I think that's good. Just want to darken down that eye. It was a bit wet there, so the pen will struggle to go on top of damp. Just wanted to really get that eye glinting. I think maybe, let me move that up to make sure you can see it. Need a little bit more purple down here. I don't know, it just looked pink down here and there was heavy purple up there. And I think I should stop. If you enjoyed this koala, please like and subscribe.